لكن رح نرجع نستأنف جلسات هالمؤتمر. وقبل الوقفة اللي أخذناها كنا أعلنا عن الجلسة الثانية رح تتطرق لموضوع الوجه الجديد لإدارة الأعمال الدولية The New Face of International Business. وبدعي إلى المنصة كل من السيد إيمر جوركان السي او اوف تاتش بتركيا، وسيد لويجي كامبارديلا رئيس the President of China in the EU. بس خليني اقول انه لظروف خارجه عن الاراده ما رح يقدر يكون موجود معنا السيد لويجي. ايضا بدعي السيده ليلى سرحان ريجنال مانجر مايكروسوفت مينا ريجن اند باكستان، والدكتور فؤاد زمكحول President Association of Lebanese Business People in the World RDCL World. وبيدير الجلسه السيد توفيق جبران الخبير الصحفي اللي استضاف برنامج ايتك على القناه الحره، حيث كان يتطرق الى اهم المواضيع المتعلقه بالتكنولوجيا واحدث الابتكارات بالعالم، كما كان يستضيف ايضا اهم رجال الاعمال.
Thank you, Maurice. So we're not talking politics, we're talking technology and business. Good afternoon. We're pleased to have you all here at our panel titled The New Face of International Business. And our real pleasure to have with us our three distinguished panelists and guests. Mr. Fouad Zmekhoul, speaker, author, professor, and entrepreneur, managing director and co-owner of Zimco Holding Group, president of the Lebanese Business People Association in the World, RDCL, professor of managerial strategies and entrepreneurship at St. Joseph University, USG, and Lebanese American University, LAU. Pleasure having you here. Mr. Emre Gurkan is a seasoned telecommunications executive with over 25 years of experience in international ICT, telecom, and management consulting sectors across the US, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Mr. Gurkan serves now as Group Chief Strategy and Business Development Officer at Zain Telecommunication Group in Kuwait, and he is the CEO at Touch Lebanon. I'm sure MCF appreciates your support all the time. This event and the other ones, I guess, right? Mrs. Lina Serhan has a multidisciplinary experience across the area of finance, sales, marketing, and management in emerging markets. Joining Microsoft in 2002, she holds now two key positions at Microsoft: Small and Medium Enterprises Solutions and Partners Director and Regional General Manager. We are pleased having you all here. The business world pretty much was the same for a century or so after the Industrial Revolution. The same business world starts changing at a very fast pace, and the technology has been at the heart of business growth. Technology develops at an exponential rate, and businesses have to keep up. With our panelists today, we will talk about the new face of international business, about the rapid growth of e-commerce, information technology, telecommunications, jobs, and high-tech innovations, and consumers, and more. We're going to try to be brief and interactive with our audience, with questions. Four major angles we're going to tackle today: telecommunication, consumer behavior, as I said, information technology, traditional versus new tech. We start with telecommunication. We can start with Mr. Gurkan, that telecommunication is one of the major factors for business to grow and go forward in a very fast pace. At the same time, telecom has to reply to the growth and the need of international business. And anyone feel free to answer the same question or tackle the same angle. How do you describe the challenges of the telecom sector to be up to the demand of international business by continuous innovation and advanced services?
I think my voice is, sorry about that, my voice is not clear today. And I sorry for not being still Arabic and speaker, but I'm learning. شوي I'm getting there.
سلامتك.
Dr. Shidiak, both, yeah. We got a lot of Arabic words, and thank you very much first of all, Dr. Shidiak and the foundation. It's very noble cause, and I like these non-profit, non-governmental organization which makes huge changes basically, or impact for the world. Now, I want to comment on industrial revolution. Now, I think you are talking about more like 19th century, in the end of the 19th century with the mechanical engineering and the machinery, were in place. There are a lot of changes, innovation happened. However, in the beginning of the 20th century, we lost some time with the wars, two great wars. And after the war, you can see this defense industry is taking a lot of actions, and a lot of innovation in basically today, what we are using, whether you call it mobile technologies or even PSTN, which is a landline, so on and so forth, are coming from the defense-centric innovative ideas. But in the end of the 20th century, now the 21st, there are a lot of things changing, which is the fourth industrial revolution, which World Economic Forum is talking about. It is really not, it's really something. I need to dwell a little bit on that. This social media, Facebook, Instagram, this phenomena is just the beginning of the world, of the big new era. You've been discussing in a lot of panels, basically, IoTs, like Internet of Things, or smart cities, smart homes, digital innovation. You've been hearing these buzzwords a lot. And I want to put telecom somewhere in this puzzle. There are tech companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, so on and so forth. And once upon a time, telecom companies were also considered a tech company. Today, unfortunately, we are a bit behind the curve. And I will tell you why we are behind the curve. Because mobile industry today is not a new industry. It's been almost 30 years old industry. And we couldn't reinvent ourselves. Unfortunately, I need to tell you the truth. Even look at the big
telecom companies?
Telecom companies in general, telecom industry. Even the AT&T today, I served AT&T for about 5 years when I was a consultant. And they were discussing 15 years ago how we can reinvent ourselves, become Microsoft or Oracles of the world. This was like 15 years ago. They are still finding their pace. Unfortunately, they are still behind of some of these social media companies like Facebook, Google, so on and so forth. If you look at the valuations could talk by themselves.
Excuse me, do you think that you tackle two different sectors of the tech world? Like telecom provide the infrastructure that, correct me if I'm wrong, and the IT, the social media use this infrastructure to, without the telecom or infrastructure that you have, we cannot get to Facebook or Twitter.
Correct.
Am I right?
Now, however, telecom is becoming more and more the pipe for the IT companies like Microsoft, Google. I don't want to name the companies, but these companies. So telecom, after the invention of the telecom or mobile industry, the whole objective in the last 30 years, actually, we've been discussing, let's not become a dumb pipe, but let's become a smart pipe. How can we serve our customers digitally on the social media universe or in the advance of the fourth industrial revolution? However, we couldn't do it. We are still providing voice, data, and voice-centric and data-centric product and services. Even today, when we are talking about the value-added services, we are talking about very traditional way of serving the customers. However, today, the vision that at least we are trying to bring in the region and to touch, which with my team actually, is the vision of the 21st century, which is use Lebanese talent, which you talked about, the diaspora. I was in Boston 2 weeks ago with the people from Lebanon at the MIT. We were talking about the diaspora. In the Fortune 500 companies, the majority is, one of the majority is from Lebanese people. And the companies that we are acquired in Zain Group are either Lebanese companies, 90%, or Lebanese originated businesses. And I've been tackling, I've been friends with Lebanese people last 20 years of my life when I was in the US. And Lebanese people are everywhere. And this diaspora thing is really a very important and noble idea.
But
Second,
the idea of telecom are behind. What do you mean exactly?
I am coming to that. I'm coming to that. Because one of the reasons is this diaspora or the Lebanese youth. We are not able to attract the Lebanese youth anymore as telecom industry, or not I wouldn't say Lebanese youth. In general, telecom industry is not able to attract youth anymore, because youth usually prefer to go to Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, so on and so forth.
Or they prefer to have their startups.
Yes. However, 30 years ago, when we started as the mobile-centric universe, youth were like coming. This youth became old with us. You know, I'm one of the youth that joined in telecom industry 21, 22 years old. Now I'm 47, right? I'm still in telecom. I'm not young anymore. You know, I don't see 21-year-old dynamite people coming to touch Alpha or anywhere, you know, in the world, in the telecom industry. They prefer Microsoft, Google, so on and so forth, and there is a reason for that. And the reason is the second, coming with the second, the vision, when we started you know, our journey, yes, infrastructure is very important because we need to build this infrastructure so that people can talk, can use data, so on and so forth, and other companies can use us. However, it's not the end of the world, it's the beginning. Now we need to provide advanced services, revenue diversification. For instance, let me give you an example. A couple of years back, I was defending an idea of bringing Arabic search engine to the region. Right? When I was working with my previous company, we really wanted to bring Arabic search engine. Because why? If you look at the search engines today, whoever owns the search will become #1 in the world. Look at Google in the US. Look at China, Baidu in China. You know, China is not using Google, they are using Baidu. You know, Russians are not using Google, they are using Yandex. You know, Koreans are not using Google, they are using Naver, NHN. But why we Arabic societies using Google? Why are you always going with the Ferraris and Mitsubishi, whatever the brands, you know? Why don't we invent something by ourselves as the Arabic region, Arabic search engine specific? 5 years, it took my 5 years fight. I couldn't, you know, convince anybody in the end. We convinced some people, we tried to bring, but it didn't happen. Yani, the reinvention of the telecom is gonna start with digital services, whether it is search, or audio streaming or video streaming, but not voice centricity or data centricity anymore.
Not the traditional pipes that you talk
Correct.
about.
That's what I mean.
May I listen to Microsoft with Mr. Han? What do you think about what he's talking?
I mean, he's the telecom expert, so I'm
But
going to
interesting that he's
respect.
criticizing the telecom industry by himself.
So I think I mean, basically, it's very true from what we're seeing today in the global marketplace. And even if you look today at the top 5 highest market cap companies in the US, AT&T at one point in time in '97 was among the top 5. Today the top 5 are Alphabet, which is Google, Facebook, Microsoft. I mean, all data companies, all companies that actually have a lot of data are today among the top 5. And I think what cloud providers such as Microsoft have done is actually how do we build this intelligent cloud running on the connectivity infrastructure, but that is really powered by what we call intelligent edges. And what's an intelligent edge? An intelligent edge, it's a human being, it's a mobile application, it's a website interaction, it's a sensor, it's all of those that are bringing data into that cloud and making sense out of it. So that businesses are now able to look more into insights instead of just looking at data. And I think this is what technology companies have done versus what telecom companies who continue to invest heavily in the infrastructure. And when you think of insights, then you start thinking of more of the advanced technologies that are today readily available. So insights in the past used to say, okay, I have data, I have a report, it tells me what happened in the past. And then
what will happen?
We then said, okay, we can do some interaction so that it tells me why it happened. But then I have predictive analytics and some machine learning advances that tells me what will happen. And eventually, artificial intelligence will help me say, what should I do next? So that if I am a business, I want to increase customer satisfaction, increase market share, generate more profit, reduce my cost, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is I mean, and we talk about the fourth industrial revolution. I think those technologies, advanced analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, are really at the heart of this industrial revolution. We talk about social media a lot, What social media generate is a lot of data, but what you do with the data, I think, is the power of what technology companies bring on the table today.
Mrs. Mikhol, what Mr. Gurkan mentioned, that telecom companies are not now very attractive for young people. Since you deal with young students at USG or LAU and you teach entrepreneurship, startups, entrepreneurship, innovations with young people is very popular now. It's booming here in the US already, around the world. So is it a big factor that young guys, they're not interested by big companies, even Microsoft, with all the respect to Microsoft?
Well, I do have several comments of what have been said by the experts, because they're the expert in their field. But I would like to tackle an issue from a business point of view. How do we see this huge technological changes that's occurring in our world, in our region, in our country? And then I will go back to the youth, because this is completely related. You know, I mean, it's very important to see this change, and we have to admit that finally the worldwide economy is completely changing. I mean, the economy of the region is changing, and the economy in Lebanon is completely changing. And that's something that we have to admit, and that's crucial, I think, in such a discussion, is that the point of strength that made the companies where they are today, and positively in all the world, and specifically in Lebanon, this point of strength have been completely moved 180% to point of weaknesses. And in case we don't evolve as persons, as company, as organizations, as schools, as universities, completely change, unfortunately we'll be going backward. So this is exactly the trend. So it's very important to move and to follow the trend, specifically the technological trend in the infrastructures, in the companies, in the education, but at the same time, moving with this technology is changing completely the new paradigm. And that's something I wanted to stress on as businesses, as individuals, as students. It's true that for the last 10 to 5 years, we have noticed this attractiveness to the youth, that everybody wanted to create this company. It was very easy with a very low cost, having a laptop and an office to open and go to go to the world. And this was, I mean, we had so many success companies. I mean, all these successes that we have in the world started very small. But we forget, and we tend to forget, that the number of successes is very low compared to the number of investment and the time that was invested into that field. So I would tell you that, to answer directly the question, that the youth are still interested, but unfortunately don't see a real outcome. I mean, the dream of Silicon Valley is not applicable in this part of the world today. We see less attractiveness by the youth. However, we see a lot of attractiveness by the big companies. We have to keep in mind that the companies today, instead of going an investment into new R&D department, would prefer and would rather invest into specific entrepreneurs with ideas, because this would be much easier, less costly, to go and, I would say, buy companies and go and attract such entrepreneurs. So the whole thing would be how to build the gap, or the bridge the gap between these young entrepreneurs are trying to create something, knowing that we're in a part of the world where, specifically in Lebanon, where we have a very high degree of creativity, and that's something that we have to tackle on. And at the same time, the opportunities that are there are specifically in those companies who would like to invest in people, and specifically in ideas, no more into departments, and that's the complete change. And I would like to jump on an idea, because we discussed in your opening speech, you said strategy, you said innovation, you said competitiveness, if I'm not wrong. So each one of that point that you tackle are extremely important. And it's important to put to the floor that even the strategy that we are doing today as company, telecom company, technological, or even traditional company, have completely changed. And the starting point would be to know exactly where we are today, exactly what are the points of stress we have as people, what the points of stress we have as companies, and exactly where we want to head, because the direction is extremely important. It's not, as business people, it's not important to expect what's going to happen, because we have so many changes that we're today living through, specifically in the region. But however, it's very important to know where do you want to take your company and where you want to invest to lead you. So these are the two main issues that we have to draw that are crucial. The second issue, that when you have these two lines, is to draw a strategy. And the strategy that is being drawn today is completely different than the strategy that's been drawn a couple of years ago. I mean, 2 or 3 years, because it has been completely changed and moved. So I would advise what we called a 3D strategy. that is focusing on the 3Ds. The first one is diversification, and let's go directly to technology. We cannot sell the same product, we cannot sell the same service. However, we have to diversify. Through diversification, we can limit the risk, and you can open new eras. The second one would be development. We can't stay at the same place, because while staying at your same place as person and company, you will be going backwards. So the development of the company, of the people, of the processes is the second D that is crucial. And the third one, which is answering directly your question, is the idea of delegation. We have to delegate to experts. We should not think that as business people or as success stories, we can do everything and know everything. The crucial thing is to attract the people and the youth that can do much better than we have. And the idea is an idea of understanding and knowledge. We don't have knowledge to give, but you have knowledge to learn from this new recruitment. So that's the third D, which will help people and companies, and specifically technological companies, to move forward. And based on the innovation, and that's the last point, and I like to quote, I mean, we all want to create the new product, the new ideas, but I like to quote Jack Welch, who used to be the CEO of GE that I like, and who said once that innovation today is imitating better. This is really traditional, but the idea is trying to just innovate and create just the new things and looking for years and years might be quite difficult. But today what we see into companies is each one is imitating the other by adding a small added values, a small thing that better is moving the whole things forward. And that's exactly what you're seeing specifically in technological companies. It's a total imitation with an added value.
Before we take our first question regarding what we're talking about now, not the other angles, I would like to know, I'm interested to know the strategy between business and telecom. In telecommunication, simple question, maybe a simple user can ask, do you have more technologies now that you can offer but you hide it till the future? Are we using the maximum that you have now, or?
Okay, so it all depends on the human capital, right? This is number one. Number two is we are not hiding anything. We are providing now the infrastructure, but what we are not hiding, but I think we haven't tapped the potential yet fully. I want to talk about one small example. There is a big framework now going on in the world. They are talking about innovation-driven entrepreneurship versus the SMEs. If you look at today, Lebanon as a country, it's a country full of entrepreneurs. You know, if you think about Lebanese people outside Lebanon or here, it's all about entrepreneurship. What is missing in Lebanon or in the region is the innovation-driven entrepreneurship. So that's why MIT developed this nice tool, ICAP and ECAP, which is entrepreneurship capacity or capability or quota, and ICAP, which is innovation-driven entrepreneurship. ICAP is important because ICAP can give you $1 billion companies. ECAP is not going to give you $1 billion companies. The Bakkala is an ECAP. Bakkala is a SME and entrepreneur, basically himself, on the street. So telecom is the same way. We've been providing voice and data-centric services. Now the next era, actually, you'll be seeing a lot of audio and video coming from the telecom companies, which started in the US, which we are started here also in the region. Hopefully in touch, we'll be starting very soon. Then you'll be hearing a lot of smart city companies, smart home solutions offered by the telecom companies. We started offering those solutions. Then you'll be hearing a lot of IoT and security and digital health and biotech. It's like all because intertwined with the telecom, because without infrastructure, you cannot provide these services. But having said that, we don't want to be competing with Microsofts of the world or Oracles of the world, because everybody has a role. However, as telecom companies, we shouldn't stay as idle like a dump pipe provider. We should really dig into this untapped potential of the youth, attract these people, and then provide innovation and innovation-driven entrepreneurship more and more. And I think we have enough capital as a telecom company, especially in Lebanon and the region, that we need to really spend some of our funds for the R&D so that we can attract these people and they can still be entrepreneurs and startups. We don't need to own everything, but we can get small equity and then to basically motivate the youth. Actually, MOT just took an action. We are planning to establish a venture capital fund together with Alpha Touch and MOT with one collaboration, all about providing capital for the youth who can develop telecom-centric entrepreneurial, innovation-driven startups in Lebanon. I think these things, these attempts are important. So this is the untapped potential. Otherwise, we are not hiding anything.
Absolutely.
If I may add
Please.
on this, I think you were maybe insinuating that maybe the market is not ready for those new technologies. I believe the markets are ready for these new technologies, even in the Middle East, even though we still have a long way to go in providing affordable access to everyone, everywhere, the same level of digital literacy for everyone, for sure. I think the regulation is not ready. And that's for sure. I mean, as long as we are going to have regulators across the Middle East region that are blocking the use of certain capabilities that technology is giving today, it is going to be a problem. As long as regulators are not going to modernize their data privacy laws, it's going to be a problem. Because then you cannot give the right trusted and responsible and inclusive service to all the constituents or to all your customers. And I'm not talking only about Microsoft. It's Microsoft, it's a bank, it's a school, it's any traditional business who would want to take advantage of this technology for their own consumers, own customers. If regulation is blocking, then we are going to stay where we are. But the market is definitely ready.
Ready. Based on what we were talking, so it's known now that big companies are fed by innovators, by entrepreneurs that they have a small idea. I always give this example. Let's say if we have an iPhone and there is a new feature in a new iPhone, this feature might be given by an innovator, not from Apple. I met these people in America, like swiping the call and deleted it. It wasn't innovated by Apple, by a small company, and Apple, and they sell it to Apple. So hopefully here in the Middle East, in Lebanon, the same happened. Any question from the audience related to telecom or what we talked about? Yes.
We can hear you.
Microphone here.
My question is, do you think technologies should be catered to the... For example, when I think of e-commerce, I think of Uber, I think of Airbnb. However, Uber was successful in the US, but here in Lebanon or in countries like Malaysia, Thailand, they didn't work because, like you said, of the regulation. So should these technologies be done differently for each country or no?
I can give a very quick answer.
Yes.
Kareem is the company out of Dubai, and he's a friend, basically. Magnus established this company like 3-4 years ago. It's an imitation of the Uber. It's very successful. But Uber also in Lebanon, interestingly enough, I'm using Uber myself. It's working very well. And Google Maps and Uber in this country is working very well. But they are facing a lot of regulatory challenges because the license plate in some of the countries, not necessarily in Lebanon, but most of the countries are monopoly. So you have to pay a lot of money to get the taxi license, like New York and big cities. Uber kind of is breaking that taboos in a way. But it's not that easy because there is a regulatory challenge, because the other taxi driver, poor guy, he paid money, like $500,000 for instance for that, and suddenly Uber, a company coming from the US and kind of dominating your industry. It's not also fair, but this balance basically, it's an equality. It has to happen. This disruption happens, and then sinusoidal acts happened, and then after a couple of years, there is a balancing act will find itself.
I think innovation is going to lead to innovation. So you would see some countries that are now trying to innovate their traditional taxi driving system, providing them with mobile, providing them with the application, so providing them with different payments. So as an Uber user, you like the fact that you don't need to carry cash with you because you can pay by your credit card. So innovation drives innovation. And I think this is what we would want to encourage countries to do.
Yeah, with Uber as an example, or Kareem as a very successful example that was tailored for the region, starting from Dubai. And
But there are a lot of Lebanese, by the way, companies.
you know, they started in Dubai.
Yes, but
Yeah,
there are a lot
yeah.
of also Lebanese companies
Yes.
in the food delivery, taxi. We are
Mhm.
using some of them. Seriously, I mean, in Lebanon, the potential of Lebanon in you know, entrepreneurs that I'm facing with in different setups, basically,
Mhm.
there are a lot of local applications in Lebanon. The Lebanon problem is, first of all, the market is small. 4 million people is not enough, or 6 million people is not enough for that. That's why a lot of Lebanese entrepreneurs are going to the region, Dubai or whatsoever, because Saudi is the potential market. I don't know what's going to happen next.
It used to be.
But it was,
problem.
yeah,
You have to change this.
Yes.
as of yesterday. Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing. But second, but still, Lebanon, that's why kind of we are also configuring something for Lebanon, because the brain is working, the machine is working in Lebanon, Lebanese people, because of the genetics. I give this example multiple times. You are from the Phoenicians and you are from the history. When you basically blend the genes, you bring the very smart pools. I mean, this is a very taboo basically in the PhDs or circles or the professors. That's why they don't announce these kind of research. But there are research which nations are more creative, are more innovative, blah, blah, blah. Lebanon is one of them. You are talented. No, but this is it. But your market is small. So however you create, you will never be able to reach like $2 billion, $3 billion market just focusing on Lebanon. Then that's why a lot of Lebanese entrepreneurs you can see in Dubai right now. But you need to open the way. You need to create incentives for these people to come to bring them back so that they can be in Lebanon, stay in Lebanon, still serve Dubai or other markets. This is the missing piece, which is the infrastructure, regulation, corruption. People are talking about all this stuff. If we have this healthy environment in Lebanon, the Lebanese potential is there, and then believe me, the diaspora will come back. That's my view.
Yeah. Next question, please.
Yeah, I have another question to Mr. Gökhan. You were mentioning smart cities as one aspect of this whole technology-driven progress. We have a conference series which is called Sustainable Cities. And I think that's a little bit a different approach because, again, we are needing the balance between technology and sustainability if we want to bring societies forward. So I'm wondering, because I have heard a lot about technology, about the creativeness of entrepreneurs. Now we have talked about Uber and Karim as an example for a need of regulation, striking the balance, and sustainable versus smart cities is a good example for that, I think, as well.
I like this analogy because you are...
Do they go together?
First of all,
Sure.
we the tech guys, you made a very good sentence. You said revolution, start with the revolution, then it becomes evolution. So we like this disruption, like the buzzwords. Smart city is just a buzzword. Smart city has been always there for 30, 40 years. Smart buildings were there, like thermostat talking to refrigerator, blah, blah. This is not a new news. I think sustainability is the name of the game. I like your idea, and this is one of the part of the industrial revolution anyway. I think we need to use more, cool words or like, how can I say, more sustainable words, because smart city, when I say smart city, I'm using it, or Microsoft is using it, because of the product marketing strategy. In the end of the day, as a consumer, it's all about sustainability. Whether you call it carbon emission, or you call it for the smartness is everything, but sustainability is better
Maybe
word. I like it.
sustainability has a cachet of
I think it's better.
conservative people. That's why they go to smart.
People are using sustainability on the, actually I had a lot of fights. When I came to Zain 4 years ago, there was a chief sustainability lady who's working with Lara in chief sustainability also in our company, communication. And they always bash me. They said, Emre, you're always talking about strategy, buzzwords, technology. Sustainability is the name of the game. But I told them, sustainability is not very sexy. You need to use like smart, intelligent, artificial, blah, blah, blah.
IoT.
But I mean, I agree.
Before the question, I do have a comment, if you don't mind, because a lot of things have been talked about. We're discussing, maybe a question is how we're bringing technology to Lebanon. Personally, I see it completely different. We have to admit that it's true that as Lebanese, or Lebanon is not coming from a different planet. However, what we witness here is completely different with what we witness around the region or the world. So the good idea would be to see Lebanon as a technological laboratories, because what you encounter here is completely different. So my message to the entrepreneurs and the innovator would be to test any idea, and any entrepreneurship idea would be to test it within Lebanon. Because by succeeding in your ideas and entrepreneurship idea in Lebanon, in case you have a critical success, it would be very easy to export your success in the region and the world. However, the opposite is completely different, because a success in the region or success in the world that you bring to Lebanon would be completely different given the situation and the typical situation that we have here in the telecom, in the private sector, in the public sectors. So what would be done would be to start in Lebanon, and we suggest to go through micro companies, to specifically small company as idea, and to test it, and to see Lebanon as an economical and technological laboratory where we test the idea, where we try, because any good idea and any entrepreneur that will succeed in Lebanon would be the best candidate to export his success to the region and sell his idea abroad. However, the opposite would be much more difficult, and we witness it with other companies and other technological issues. So I would provide this as a strategy to start here and to test, and then go to the large company and then to the SMEs, and then to export not the people, but to export the success. And we have many examples on that. Sorry for being interrupting you.
No, it's okay. Thank you. I came a bit late, so I'm not sure maybe you tackled this subject. You were speaking about regulation and the regulator. We all know that there's big potential in Lebanon, and that higher education is very good in Lebanon. We have a good level of higher education. However, I think the challenge is with the regulator. The parliament is the regulator. I would like to ask Mrs. Leila Sarhan, since you're Lebanese and you have this international experience, do you think the regulator in Lebanon is ready to meet these new challenges?
I think, so regulators around the world are at different stages. I mean, even in the US today, we as a company and other big American companies are struggling with the FCC, with the outdated regulations that they have. So even in countries like the United States that you think they are way
So
ahead of us, they are still, I mean, their law is still from the 80s.
So diplomatic.
No, it's true, in
So-
fact.
No, but it is a fact.
No,
Now-
I'm asking about Lebanon.
No, I think there's definitely, I mean, the thing is, we have no law on data privacy or on data protection, and that's a big gap. It's a huge gap that we have today, which puts businesses in a situation where they, okay, I don't know what to do. So the best answer is not to do.
But
My best protection is not to do, because
can
I
gi-
don't know what to do.
I can give you from telecom industry. I mean, you're asking is, your question is very spot on. Telecom industry in the world is privatized, liberalized, so on and so forth. Lebanon is still the governmental entities managing the telecommunication whatsoever. You cannot change certain facts in this country. I learned the fact in a hard way. This is the way it is. However, what we can do is at least for the entrepreneurs, for the high-tech companies, because this is a public company, public fund, so on and so forth. But for the non-telecom companies, like startups, at least we telecom companies can get together and provide them the infrastructure. And then tell the politicians, please don't interact, don't put your hands in this outside, these companies, it's okay, manage us, but at least just make the startups free so that they can you can become like, you can create like $1 billion company. One idea came from a Lebanese person when we were in Boston. All his dream is to create $1 billion blue chip company like Amazon, so on and so forth, market cap, here in Lebanon. So it's a very good cause. Like for instance, health, biotech. I think you have the very strong health system in Lebanon compared to Arab regions. Leverage this and become a biotech hub. Something like that. But I agree with you. In general, I can say from the telecom perspective, wherever I operate today in Zain, 8-9 markets, always there is a regulation. Some markets don't accept WhatsApps. Some markets are more free than others, so on and so forth. But net neutrality, the US is talking about net neutrality. We are not talking about net neutrality. Net neutrality is like a food, like water. Everybody should have the equal opportunity to reach the internet. There are today more than 3 billion people in the world that are not even seeing the internet. This is the global phenomena. I don't want to be politically correct, so I'm just telling you, I think there is an issue in Lebanon, but it is really beyond our kind of grade levels, so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me say what my colleagues don't want to say. So,
or what Paula wants to hear.
Okay, so yes, you are asking the question, and I think that you have the answer. You're asking about the regulators. So let's, as Lebanese say, who is the regulator, and what's the job of a regulator? Who is the regulator? Okay, so who is the regulator?
Is the regulator?
Yes.
How knowledgeable is
No,
this field?
they do have the knowledge. To be quite fair, they do have the knowledge. However, they forget the knowledge as small the days they're nominated as regulator. Because once they're nominated regulator, they take, unfortunately, a political hat, and it goes through the transparency, anti-transparency, I would say, offers, and that goes through. So unfortunately, the problem is not really the regulation and the regulator, it's everything that's going around it. So let's admit something. No, we do not have a regulator. The regulator is not doing any control, and we will not have in the near future. However, and we know that as public sector and private sector, we're going maybe at the same pace, but in different directions. As business people and as private sector, we see that today the private sector is moving at a very rapid pace. We are very proud to compete with local, regional, international companies, but based on what the private sector are doing as initiative. So let's make it this way. In case you want to wait for a regulator or to wait for a public support, I think that those who waited are still waiting. I just give a small idea, because we have some successes, but we have to know that time is an investment. For example, a couple of days ago, we had the new law for the sustainable energy and renewable energy, which is exceptional, and we're really applauding that. However, it took 12 years to do that. For another way, we were working on the PPP law that took us like 15 years. So the idea is we might get somewhere, but we have to admit that this is time costing and it's an investment. So two things, either you wait and you invest.
May I just add,
of course you can.
about the energy thing, it's not only the 12 years, it's also investors, high-level investors who are investing in this, and that's why it moved forward. This is
But it's a positive
an
issue.
to raise.
It is, but I'm just telling that finally we can succeed sometimes, but it will take a lot of time. So again, shall we wait and invest into time, or we invest into people, into ideas, and try to move forward while tackling and overcoming such issues? And specifically in this period, we know that we cannot expect for the coming months for any regulations. We know that we have, unfortunately, a lot of political local and regional issues. However, we have to know that despite everything, we have to continue, we have to persevere, and we'll always find opportunities. And I end up that the best opportunities that has been done in Lebanon were done in time of crisis. The company that you have today in all the sectors, financial, economical, productive, commercials, are those companies who decided to go and persevere within the 15 years of war. So finally, I can say that we might face today a Cold War. We might not have a regulator, we will not have a public issue. However, I will insist that the real opportunities are today. When everybody is escaping, the competition must get less. But we have to be innovative. We have to choose to persevere, and we have to find the idea and to follow the track. Thank you.
To close it on a positive note, to be realistic, we're behind here, yes, but the other part of the world is not perfect. In Europe, many cities, Uber is not allowed because of regulations, right? In the US, digital signature is not, like they don't use it all the time with all the companies. Many regulations, politicians or regulators are not all knowledgeable in the US. They have their people, they ask investors, money talks there, even on regulations. We are not like the super perfect country, but realistically, in technology, it's a bit more than politics. It's a bit different than politics. We're gonna move to, we have more questions? Yes, please. Yes.
Improve the political gridlock that specifically Lebanon is facing, and maybe revolutionize the political regime that is in the country, because we seem to have a lot of issues, and a lot of them are because we're a third world country and we're definitely behind. But do you believe that there's a link, and if so, how?
Who would like to answer?
Tough
Briefly,
question.
because we have to,
I only know the Arab Spring when they started in Tunisia, Libya, and then Egypt, all these countries. There was a regime of like dictatorship. But what I see in Lebanon, there is no dictatorship. There are multi-sectarian, multi-religious, multi-thought, whatever we call, but it's more democracy. Let me give you an example from my country, Turkey, why I left Turkey 23 years ago and immigrated to the US. Because I didn't like the things that are changing in Turkey in the last 23 years. Now, the Turkey was a very democratic country. Now it's becoming less and less democratic in a way. And when we speak up, usually in Turkey, when you send a tweet or something, you might have a risk of being questioned and going to jail, so on and so forth. In Lebanon, I see sometimes these tweets, about me, the political parties, and nothing happens to them. It's a democracy. To be honest with you, it's a democracy.
That's correct.
You take it with a humor and rumor. I'm talking to my friends in Turkey, and they don't want to send these kind of tweets. I'm really sometimes reading them. This is the tweet that these guys are sending. They say, "Oh my God, how is it possible?" So in a way, it's a tragedy. It's a kind of interesting movie. But Lebanon is not a dictatorship. That's why I don't think there will be this revolution coming from the technology going to happen like happening in the other part of the world. I think it's only Lebanese people themselves will sort out this problem. I don't think communication will have an impact, but not the solution for this, in my opinion. Not like other countries. Twitter started a lot of cause, a lot of issues. We had Gezi 2013 in Turkey, like 3 years ago. It started with a tweet. Somebody tweeted, and then people gathered some places, like 100,000 people, and 500. I don't think this is going to happen here. It might happen with different sectors, different multi-layer.
Let's switch and go back to our main title, the international new face of international business. E-commerce is a new face every single day. It's becoming bigger and bigger. Mr. Han, e-commerce and Microsoft, e-commerce in the Middle East and around the world is becoming a big power with mobile, with cloud, with all the factors that makes it stronger and stronger.
So if we want to think of the Middle East, I was seeing the Middle East Internet Society chapter just released their latest study a couple of weeks ago. And so the worldwide retail e-commerce that happened in Middle East and Africa is 1% only of total retail e-commerce. And actually, it's not the US that is giving the most. It's Asia Pacific. So obviously, when you see China and Alibaba and all of this, the volume is very big. And I think it goes back as well to the issue that was raised before by Emery, I believe, which is Lebanon is very small today. So you're gonna market your product to 4 million people, and that's the 4 million people. So how do you reach plus 2 million? So how do you expand rapidly in a cost-effective way? And technology today helps you also do immediate translation, so you don't need to invest into people and local knowledge and all of this. So definitely e-commerce is going to open those doors. We're still far. Again, e-payment needs to be, digital payment need to be enabled, and many other things need to be enabled.
And before talking about jobs, let's ask here, like how many of you, we go online and you buy online? One, two? Huh? It's a good percentage, no?
And we had a good story in the Middle East, I think, with Souk.com.
Souk.com was
a
very
successful story.
And even you're talking about startups and innovation in Lebanon, who follows would know that many good stories and really beautiful stories is happening at BDD in Beirut, with Beritech, with all the incubators and the ecosystem in Lebanon. Talking about the jobs, it might sound a very traditional question, but day by day, we're losing jobs, we're having new jobs with e-commerce. Dr. Zmikhout, what do you think about the jobs in the future? Are we losing? Are we?
I will directly answer you the question, but I would like to go to the young lady who asked something about communication, because there's something I would like to share with you. You asked something about communication. And it's most more, I had the chance to, I was giving a conference in the States, and I had someone that stood up and asked me, said, well, you're Lebanese, you're so lucky. That's the first time somebody said you're Lebanese and lucky. So I was smiling and very happy to be lucky to be Lebanese, and I said, why should I be happy? And said, because you're the famous people in the CNC. So she said CNC, everybody was laughing, but I didn't understand what was the CNC. So I've asked again, why are we known for the CNCs? And she said, you are the best into communication and connections. And that's something very important to notice, that it's true. If you go back to the Lebanese nature, we are excellent communicators. We'll always find to communicate. When you see that Lebanese guy that stopped at the gas station and he has this Egyptian guy coming, he talked to him Egyptian. You have, you know that you have this Lebanese that tried to know two words in French, and he speaks French for hours. And you have exactly the same English. So we do have this in our nature. So communication, which is extremely important to make it more serious, that we'll always find anything to use communication productively. And the connection we're discussing are these Lebanese that you talked about in the introduction, that are the 15 million all over. Wherever you go in the world, you'll always find a Lebanese in a restaurant that is serving you, and the owner would be a Lebanese, and then the guy that is within the state would be also a Lebanese. So by using this communication, by using the connection, I think that we can grow much better than we are doing. Going to the job issue, because you have asked me a question, but I wanted to answer that. We have to admit that as per the World Bank, our economy is not creating more than 4,000 jobs per year in Lebanon. And we have more than 20,000 graduates per year. So let's admit as a fact that we don't have to create 10 or 20 or 30% of jobs to acquaint all the youth. However, we need 600% more. So this is why I think that we have to create a completely new ecosystem. Our ecosystem that is there, whatever happens, even if we go to a growth of 10 or even 15%, which is a dream, won't create enough opportunities. So today, this is the message that we have to give to the parents, to the youth, and to the university. We cannot teach the same methods. We cannot teach the same courses. We have to think about new creative issues. And that's exactly what we're trying to bring, is to bring entrepreneurship within the universities. We don't need just entrepreneurship courses, but we need entrepreneurs that have half of their time in the university and half of their time within company, not doing projects. It's exactly what we're doing, and that's what we're doing. And I'm just giving you just an example. There's a huge IT company that I will not name them to give advertisement, that is giving a full floor just for entrepreneurs, where they give, for example, $15,000 per year with an office just to come with an idea. And within a year, in case they succeed, they do keep the entrepreneur and buy the idea. And if you multiply this example, let's say 15,000, you multiply it by 10, it's 150,000 per year. It's much less than the cost of a department that they would do to an R&D. So the whole thing would be a completely change in our mindset. We have not to find entrepreneurs, but to create entrepreneurs. And again, what we're saying, it's a speech that should be taken to households and taken to universities. We don't want any more marketing and management courses. We do want entrepreneurship mind. And this is the only thing that will create jobs specifically in the coming and in the near future.
Absolutely. I appreciate how focused you are on the Lebanese market. We're going to talk about the international market as well. In terms of jobs, Microsoft, are you hiring or firing in the US?
So now we're open for hire, always open for hire. But I think, I mean, going back to what Fuad was saying, I think that we need to go back to education. And the problem we have in this region, I think we're lucky in Lebanon that we have good universities, but in general in this region is that still education is a supply side, has a supply side mentality. I supply you with this education, and then you go and you will see whatever demand is out there. We do not have a demand side approach and seeing, okay, what do companies need? What do future recruiters or what do these market need, so that we are going to teach our students exactly those skills. And again, we go back to technology. Today, any job will have a percentage of either science, technology, engineering, or math of STEM. Any job. So you study business or you study marketing, you need to understand technology. You need to understand math. Math is becoming the new sexiest the new sexiest degree in the world, because all data scientists today have extremely good knowledge in math, and data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So I think it really goes back to education and the mentality we have in the education system in terms of looking at what the demand is versus saying, this is what you're going to learn, and that's it.
I promise Sophie a last comment on jobs because I know that you have to move, but that's something very crucial that Leila tackled. We used to have as company used to prepare what we call a job description that used to do exactly what you're looking for, and you have an applicant that comes and you give the job description, and that's how it used to be. I think today this paradigm has completely changed. The job description is a couple of lines, and you get to the applicant and you ask the applicant what's the added value he would do. So the new trend to do is that today is that the applicant fill himself the description with the added value he can give to the company. And today, instead of having people coming filling gaps and replacing people, we're looking for people that come and that create a place. So today, any company would come to invest because hiring is an investment. The idea would be the return on investment. What is the added value that the applicant could do? And that's, I would say, the idea between filling a gaps that used to be in the traditional way while creating a place and putting a new hills. So that would be today the new era of employment for large companies.
I want to give a very quick insight from my side. Okay. When we come to the college level, university level, or advanced degree level, I think the time already passed. So I believe in this
before.
So I believe in this education or readiness for the future in a very early age with the family. That's my belief, to be honest with you. Because I believe in the full package. Whether you have the full package with an early age, this is like I'm teaching in the consulting, spending in 12 years in consulting, like companies like McKinsey kind of gave me this a bit cruel way of looking people. So looking, yesterday I was in Kuwait for the Women Empowerment Program, and one of our employees, she's a very bright lady, she mentioned something on the women empowerment.
We still have 30 seconds.
We still have
Go
20 seconds. Go ahead.
We discussed about women, so
I want to give you an example. She said, we were talking about women empowerment, and then I mentioned, how I really like working with women in general because they are very detail-oriented. In my opinion, they are a bit more smarter because they are more focused in the job, so on and so forth. And then she said something very, very critical. She said, when we have son, we are buying robots, Legos, whatsoever, and when we have daughters, we are buying Barbie, so on and so forth. So she said, stop buying Barbie for the girls. Buy robots, buy engineering, buy something mechanical. So this is going back to the mathematics that you are talking about, Leila. Mathematics, liberal arts, because you cannot also bring up robots. I don't want, dealing with it. I'm an engineer myself, and I was a nerd engineer when I was growing up. Then I realized that history is important, philosophy is important, sociology is more important than the engineering, so on and so forth. So you don't want to create a robot. That's why in an early age, I think you need to give this STEM ideas to the kids, in addition to this humanity ideas as well. When they grow up at the university level, I really believe in liberal arts education. So the kids needs to get the full round, because I have so many employees come to my office, give me presentation, super nerd engineers, they can't talk, they can't communicate. I don't want these people as well. So everything is changing, artificial intelligence, data scientists, so on and so forth, but mathematics, physics, STEM is important, humanities, social skills, history, these skills are equally as important. So I think starting from an upbringing in the family, then when you reach the college level, it's really already late. You need to start at the 3-4 years old, in my opinion.
It's a great idea to